Hey everybody, welcome back to Let's Play Hearts of Iron 4 New Order as America. Let us continue on from where we last left off. So, we have taken, what is it, Blomfloten down here. We're moving our way towards Pretoria and towards Johannesburg. And maybe some of these other cities up in the north. It's looking pretty good. Aside from that, in the Philippines, one of our armies got completely stack wiped immediately. Because, the AFRSR... I guess our units instantly disappeared. I'm not too sure where the hell they went. We have sent some units over there. It's looking good. And our planes are doing what they can. Now, Japan has sent a lot of units. Like, a lot more than I was originally expecting. How many troops have they sent? Like, how many troops do you guys have? 7 to 15, 11 to 19 for the Filipinos. So it's actually pretty even, which I'm not happy with. Flight of the FAC. For conspicuous gallardy and the intrepidity of action at the risk of his life and above and beyond the call of duty. As a forward aero commander, Captain Whittlebanks was a pilot of a light reconnaissance aircraft carrying patrols near Pretoria when he received a distress signal from Captain Benjamin Buckley and William Havelock. His immediate decision to enter their proximity revealed a numerically superior hostile force poised to surround the crash site of a Huey gunship. The Boer force, realizing that Captain Whittlebanks' discovery had compromised their position and the ability to launch a surprise attack, immediately fired upon the small aircraft with available firepower. Meanwhile, they began encroaching upon the crash site while pinning Captain Buckley and Havelock down with small arms fire from all sides. Realizing the air rescue elements could not arrive in time to evacuate the stranded pilots, and despite cognizant of both the limitations of these lightly armed and lightly armored aircraft and the enemy's overwhelming firepower, Captain Whittlebanks immediately assumed a cover and close support role. Flying through a hail of withering fire at treetop levels, Captain Whittlebanks deterred the Boers' advance first with a salvo of white phosphorus rockets, then with rifle fire from the side window of the aircraft. Despite increasingly intense anti-aircraft fire, Captain Whittlebanks continued to disregard his own safety and made repeated low passes over the enemy to divert fire away from the crash site. His daring tactics allowed a rescue helicopter to successfully enter the combat zone and extract Captain Buckley and Havelock to safely. During his final courageous attack to protect the withdrawing helicopter, Captain Whittlebanks was mortally wounded and his bullet-ridden aircraft crashed into Boer lines. Captain Whittlebanks, saying this action, saved 2 fellow pilots from certain injury or death. His unparalleled concern for his fellow man and extraordinary heroism were in the high traditions of the military service and have reflected great credit upon himself and the United States Air Force. Medal of Honor citation for Captain Hilliard A. Whittlebanks, USAF. Excellent. Well, not excellent for the guy that died, but excellent for me. Where is my extra tank? If you... Okay, you're here. Which honestly is fine. Boring has conquered Goring. That is okay. Again, Goring... Was he the... No, he's not the worst. Heinrich is the worst. I think what we want is probably Spear, Bormann, Goring, Heydrich. I think that's usually going to be the order we would prefer them to win in. Okay, but you are looking just fine. You've turned the tables. Hell yeah, buddy. And proclaim a state of emergency. Didn't escalate, the war will be unlocked. Let's go. Foreign policy in the Philippines, can't do too much with you. Support security forces. Yes. Again, let's just do this. Send security forces into the area. South Africa is current. Oh no, okay, we do have actually a frontline stuff now. The command power minus 33%. Operation Angel is air support efficiency. Eclipse is airfield consumption. I literally don't care about. And this is against Southwest Africa. Jackrabbit is heat attrition, attack, and yeah, I mean that sounds pretty good. Then we get bonus against South Africa. Crackpot is against Central Africa. Well, we're mostly finding East Africa the most. And this is terrain penalty. Yeah, so let's go Operation Bronze Lion. I think that makes the most sense for what we're currently doing. Because East Africa will maybe be the ones we actually first push into when we have the ability to actually do so. Canada, did you... Okay, Canada and South Africa actually... Not South Africa. Australia have actually sent troops down here, which is really nice. I'm glad that the AI can actually figure out how to properly send in those volunteers. Confession. So this Alan Pope crashed into Indonesia. I understand the urgency director, but I hardly see how this is so urgent. Surely you can get some of your friends in the FRI to pick him up and escort him to safety. President Richard Nixon sounded unimpressed. Keeping tensions from boiling was already stressful enough. Why was he being briefed on such a minor thing? Exhausted and impatient, Director of the CIA stared back at the president with a sense of expectation. Well, there's more than that. According to intelligence, the Japanese have already found and sentenced him to death. If he's executed, the press will have a field day with you. Not to mention the tensions will increase on the ground. Suddenly, the director's attention made a lot more sense. Leaning forward into his chair, the president asked a question with his raised eyebrow. So then, what can we do? A smile appeared on the director's face, finally sensing the end of the formality of the last few hours. I can have a rescue operation prepared in a few days. FRI assets are already aware of the situation, and have volunteered to launch an attack. All I need is a little more intelligence and free resources. Oh, and your permission, of course. The president looked down at his desk and considered the director's words. Pope had served his country, and such loyalty could not be forgotten. For the risk of sending more loyal men to the mercy of the Indonesians, finally, the president stared down harshly at the director for giving his final answer. Okay, go for it. I don't know if there's anything we can do to really support them right now. Homefront can't do anything with you. Indonesia, we can just only limit Germany's ability to do some operations, which honestly is not going to do too much for us. I need more like allies. How are the boars looking? At 71% still, which is a lot more than I was expecting. Silver lining. Well, is that Bennett was a patient man, but even he was beginning to grow frustrated. It's really simple, Mr. Johnson. The American currency is over-reliant on the silver standard. What I'm proposing isn't radical. All the proposed bill will do is give the president the option to suspend the convertibility of the dollar into silver in the event of a shortage. This was the third time that he explained the concept to the assembled legislators, if any were listening. But Johnson had chosen to enact the signature bullish persona and to derail the discussion. And I also say it's pretty simple, that you're wasting time arguing over which metal to base our currency on. Last I checked, America is still an economic giant by all accounts, so I really fail to see the merit of this passion project of yours. Johnson scoffed as he leaned informally against the desk, and Bennett felt his blood pressure steadily rise at the lack of respect. We can do so much stronger together, Mr. Johnson. Myself and my colleagues, we've done so much research into the matter. We haven't even begun to get into the hard data. Allow me to show you the charts. I'm glad you look over the graphs, Mr. Bennett, but given the times we live in, I say that silver is a rather small thing to get worked up over. Johnson chuckled idly as Bennett launched into more discussion, clearly not listening. Belittling as always, stopped Bennett. Johnson was supposed to be his ally. The Republicans and the Democrats are supposed to be allies. Yet, the Progressives and the Nationals, the NPP, seem to be better and have a more equal relationship than the two sides of this coalition did these days. As a Republican, Bennett felt increasingly sidelined. That would have to change. He's decided then and there. After the ultimate fruitless discussion came to a close, two men passed each other as the senators left the hall for lunch. Bennett fixed Johnson with the steeliest glare, with mild manner the persona could muster. Something's got to change around here, Johnson, and I'm not sure I'm going to be the one to do something about it. We'll see how that goes. Oh god, we have so many pop-ups. Ever since his unit had chased the Huns into the bushlands, there had been squeaking. The infernal squeaking, it was driving Logan mad. He didn't know what it was. He didn't know where it came from, but he knew it was annoying. It wasn't the sound that was unpleasant, per se. In fact, he would have described it as cute to an outside observer. It wasn't even that it was loud. It was pretty quiet. Quiet enough that talking and screwing around would drown it out. Two things Logan's unit did quite often. No, it was the fact that it was ever present. More than that, it was the fact that Logan had no idea what it was that was even causing it. At first, he thought he was going insane, but his squad mates heard it too. His second thought was that it'd be some kind of newfangled German technology, but that didn't make any sense either. The sound might have been annoying, but it wasn't really doing anything. Not really, anyway. It was something like the third day that he had been deployed in Bushveld, a month since Logan had been deployed to South Africa, when he finally decided to find out. Exactly 2:30 a.m. South African Standard Time, Logan got out of his cot and grabbed the flashlight. Without a second thought, he left his tent, and his squad mates were all fast asleep and didn't notice a thing, nor that they would have cared. It took about an hour before he found the source. He'd realized about 30 minutes in that the sound was coming from below, not above. So he modified his search routine. He didn't need to scan the trees with a flashlight anymore. He just started focusing on the ground. He returned rocks, he looked in holes, he had to find something. Finally, he found them. He flipped over a rock, and there really were countless tiny potatoes. Logan thought that they were potatoes, but the closer revealed that it was untrue. They were moving and squeaking. They were frogs. Tiny little round frogs burrowed into the wet dirt. Can we keep one? Oral interview. Bernard L. Hayes, PFC, 2nd Recon Battalion. My mother raised me proper, as she used to call it. She said I'd never be like the boys who teased me at home, teased me at school for being from the poor end of South Central, because I had been raised to be better than them. Funny how that changed when I joined the army, but I like to think of myself as a man of words, not a fist. At least not when I'm off duty. Never expected to get myself in a situation like this at any rate. I have 3 siblings at home. Lord knows I built patience for each of them. But those South Africans, man, I thought dealing with my own brothers was an annoyance. But when I was off duty, I swear I was more on edge than in the damn foothills. There's nothing like finding out from your own men to get tighter set of lips on them than the people you're trying to help. Listen, I know you're recording to try to document this. I just want to say that I ain't trying to stereotype the whole goddamn country. But it's just that they've got some Uncle tomfoolery going on in there. Well, the reason I got into the scuffle, hope I held my own there, was, well, I was trying to get light on some R&R in a coastal town I've been rotated to. And I met soldiers of the 45th Battalion, the SAAF. I'd fought with them. Well, my unit fought with them for 2 months. I thought they recognized me for my tab when I hit them up for a light. And you know what they told me? They pointed at the damn Zulu soldiers down the street and told me that in this part of town was, well, whites only. Damn the Africans to hell. I didn't come here fighting the stupid lily white powder boys just so I can get lift from them off duty. And I don't regret what I did next either. I'm recon, remember? Learned Zulu as part of the translation duties. And I'm glad I did too. The look on those Zulu faces, should have lit my cigarette up with them. They say black skins hide the heart. I've never met a nice South African. We have 63% on here. My tank division, let's move you up 1 more province. Because again, we want to get to Jonestown. We want to take to Pretoria as quickly as possible. I don't know if that's going to kill them per se, but I think this will be pretty nice. I think Durban's going to fall to this division, which I think will kill the ANC, but I'm not too sure. The desire for revenge. Restaurant patrons listened to the radio static, their food growing cold. Children's eyes were glued to the television screen as parents watched apprehensively from the kitchen. It was after the nation came to a standstill. In the Oval Office, Nixon quietly shuffled papers in his hands as the filming crew in front of him began counting down. The president drew in a deep breath as he looked into the camera lens, and for a moment, he saw America looking back at him. Good evening, my fellow Americans. Tonight I want to talk to you of a subject of deep concern to all Americans and to the many people in many parts of the world, the war in South Africa. He forced the words out of his mouth, having paced the White House that night, restless as he tormented himself over the speech's content. The war is necessary to continue. It's not an easy choice, but it's the right choice. Allowing South Africa's future to be determined by the victor of a military contest between themselves and the Boer Rebellion, alongside Africa's shield, would be a betrayal to our allies. He paused, assuming a gentle tone before continuing. I consider the question of what choices we have if we were to end the war, and so I have chosen to reclaim a national emergency concerning South Africa. This policy will help the war effort in allowing further mobilization of our military's personnel and allowing the administration to direct the production of war materials. With the confidence of our allies and confidence in ourselves, we will defend South Africa's freedom from Nazi aggression. If we succeed, generations will come to save us now, living, that we mastered our moment, and that we help make the world safe for mankind. Thank you, and good night. America processed the words, some excited, others anxious, as the fire ignited from within itself. From the moment on, there is no turning back now. A sleeping giant has awoken, filled with terrible resolve. Okay, so we have more trust in the government. How's that looking, by the way? I mean, that 90 or 89%. That's probably more trust in the government ever seen in their entire lives. So, you know what? We'll take it. Okay, let's recognize the Republic of South Africa. Or by South Africa, I mean India. Different place, but they've actually pushed us back 1 province. That's incredibly, incredibly rude. Okay, state of emergency here. Is that unlock anything new for us in Africa? No, not with you. What about in the front lines? Expand ground operations. Max volunteer +7. First, the government will increase by a small amount. We can send 1 more division. We can send 2 more. So yeah, let's send. We can now get up to 6. We're schmoving. Okay, send these 3 boys over. And how are the Filipinos doing, by the way? Not as great. We're gonna need you to fall back 1 province. I don't want to get encircled if we can avoid it. Please, can I please drag this back? There we go. Yes, I'm gonna have you pull back 1 province. And Japan. What are your modifiers? Well-supplied army. Bombardment by the IJAAF, which is just incredibly rude, I would say. Escape plans. You'll have to forgive me, Director, but my knowledge of Indonesia is not exactly scholarly. So this prison in Jakarta, what is it like? President Richard Nixon asked with determination, leaning over his desk. Well, it's no Alcatraz, but it's still not your average county prison. It's located on the outskirts of the city, surrounded by fields by all sides. There's guards armed and loaded 24 hours a day with concrete walls and cells. There are only 2 entrances to the facility, both guarded by machine gun turrets on the guard towers. The president leaned back as he processed the information. All right, well, what can be done? I assume you wouldn't just describe a fortress like this if you didn't have a plan. With a smile, the CIA director extolled his plans to the president, with all the excitement his intimidating office would allow. Well, the easy thing to do would be to leave it up to the local FRI cell. They know the area and the prison better than we do, although whether they are material capable is another story. Alternatively, we can send a special forces team with the FRI, though it would be costly and cause us more trouble if we're caught. During back in contemplation, his president left the director for a moment of silence. How much is one man's life worth? The president thought. Was it worth a few more American men, or just a few Indonesian lives? The director seemed to trust the FRI, seemingly, perhaps they would be enough. Then again, a few extra men would not hurt either. With a heavy sigh, he opened his mouth and gave the director his answer. You know what? I'll leave it to the FRI. If they get caught, we're not implicated in this whatsoever. We can't, we'll leave that up to chance. By the way, how are you, like, kicking our ass so much? Where are my aircraft? We have superiority. There's literally no Japanese planes here at all. And the presidential election season has begun. The primaries are concluded, the conventions are over, and now the battle has been chosen as candidates as the Republican Democrats and the National Progressive PAC will begin in earnest. While every electoral race, from the county commissioners to state judges to the Senate in Washington, is important, none of them can be compared to the drama, pageantry, and scale of the presidential race that spans the whole country. Unlike many nations in the world where the leaders are determined behind closed doors or in bloody coups and civil wars, every 4 years the citizens of America get to change the course of their nation in a peaceful transition of power that goes all the way back to George Washington in 1789. Many important issues of the day will be debated, from taxes to foreign policy, from infrastructure to welfare, but more and more the personality of the candidates is what's important. Who's the charmer? Who's more charismatic? Who's the one that will make the voters feel like they can hear them and will fight for them? The polls, television debates, newspaper interviews, and speeches around the nation will help the undecided make their choice. While reinforcing partisans in theirs, the race has begun. And yeah, we're going to go for the MPP, for sure, because again, that's what people voted for when we started this campaign. Okay, so we are going to go for the NPP. I think this is the exact same mechanics as we saw before. Presidential election. Current. Okay, so we're at 78 versus 117. The RDC is in the lead. New York is going to vote for us. We'll vote for the progressive candidate, giving them 45. Vote for the progressive candidate. Okay, so let's focus. I mean, New York loves us. Let's campaign in the East Coast. I think it seems like a good place for us to start. Volunteer forces, yes, we got our 3 extra divisions. I do feel like with those 3 extra divisions, that might just be enough for us to win the war, but maybe I'm juicing ourselves up a little bit too much. Okay, get our tanks in position. Johannesburg, it's so close, man. Like, look, it's right there. And then Pretoria as well. Like, we got some great cities up in this area. Well, I want them under my jurisdiction. I think a vent popped up, but I didn't actually read what it said. Cooling down. Embers have turned to ashes in northern North cities. In Chicago, firefighters ended the last blazes that were consumed the west side, and the mayor suspended the curfew. In Washington, D.C., over $15 million in property damage was to be accounted for, but order was largely restored. Baltimore, where citizens' anger had been burned the hottest. Did I miss something? The order has been largely restored. Baltimore, where citizens' anger had been burned to the hottest, have concluded its extraordinary use of heavily armed federal troops. The protests and riots that broke out over President Nixon's use of the veto against the civil rights legislation are slowly starting to die down, as a combination of apathy and repression slows their inertia. As the dust settles, historians and political scientists are examining the possibilities that this outpouring of discontent marks the greatest social upheaval since the Civil War. Even as violence in the streets is decreasing, rhetorical violence is increasing. Many civil rights moderates are outraged, but are afraid of being tied to the riots by future electoral opponents. The broader swath of the opposition, from liberal Democrats to the Marxists, are decrying Nixon as a tyrant envisioned by the founders. An open ladder signed by the bevy of the top academics castigated the Republican Party for falling in with the segregationists and cast a veto as the ugly vow of an unholy union between the Republicans and the Democrats. All signatories promised to lead the coalition and encourage others to do so as well. Okay, Northern Place with Northern Fury. Everyone's going to get more progressive. We love to see it. More stability, more political power. I must have. I don't know if I clicked off of something a little bit too early. I hope I didn't. But we will see. So they're campaigning in the Midwest. Again, we got to remember like what actually what's the prediction right now? Campaign here. I guess there's people also for the we're actually going to win like a lot of. We're actually going to predict to win 16 seats. We're actually predicted I think to take the Senate, which is crazy. What about the presidential election? Current 255, huh? I mean, that's a little rude. I don't like that too much. But I would say at least for right now, it's gonna be a good time for us to end this episode. So if you enjoyed, thumbs up. Not joking, always thumb down. You want to see more? Subscribe, and goodbye.